Excellencies, Mr. Deok Hyun Kim, Ms. Young Suk Ko, Mayor Si-hun Oh, Your Excellency Ambassador Ms. Tamara Mahoney, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to this event, and it is a pleasure and honor to speak at the 7th Climate Energy Summit, Seoul, dedicated to the topic that I'm most familiar with, international cooperation for the plastic circular economy, the backbone of the UN Treaty on Plastic Pollution and driving South Korea to future partnership. I wish to extend my heartfelt thank you to the organizers and for their invitation and for the opportunity to listen and learn from the representatives of government, civil society, private sector, academia, and many others. I'm also delighted to be here today, as you have already heard, in the host country of INC 5, which will take place towards the end of next year. And I also extend my heartfelt thanks to the government of the Republic of Korea for their generous support to the INC process and for the offer to host a session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee. At this time, I will also extend my thank you to Canada for hosting INC 4 next year in April. Today is exactly the kind of multi-stakeholder fora we need to support the INC process and in bringing forward solutions to tackle the plastic pollution crisis. As you know, and you have heard already today, on 2nd March 2022, representatives from all UN member states adopted a very, very historic resolution at the UN Environment Assembly in Nairobi to end plastic pollution and to forge an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment, by 2024. This is a very, very ambitious time frame, and it reflects the member states' commitment and understanding of the urgency to make progress on this extremely critical environmental challenge. Indeed, plastic pollution and plastic production have risen exponentially in the last decades. Annual global plastic production has doubled from 234 million metric tons in 2000 to 460 million tons in 2019. It is forecasted to triple under a business as usual scenario to an estimated 1,231 million metric tons by 2060. And the current commitments that exist now through all the legislation that many governments have put in place will only reduce plastic pollution by around 8% by 2040. Also, we must recognize that 65% of all plastic produced today ends up as plastic pollution. This is the plastic that we need to tackle. So acknowledging this challenge, the mandate of the UNEA resolution recognizes that the instrument could include both binding and voluntary approaches based on a comprehensive approach that addresses the full life cycle of plastic, including its production, design, and disposal. The best combination of policies across the life cycle will differ based on each member state's needs, of course. But following a life cycle approach and applying policies in an integrated way can set the world on the path to a circular plastics economy. At the end of the day, the elements of global instruments will be decided by member states in a multilateral setting, And a strong negotiation process will be one which embraces different points of view and engages with a variety of stakeholders from the outset. We strive for a broad, transparent, and inclusive process where all voices are heard and represented. We must lean on science and learn from stakeholders. That's why a forum like today is so important. It is in our hands to be bold, champion solutions, and agree on an international legally binding instrument that can create a level playing field and bring major opportunities for everyone. This process provides a unique opportunity to stop the leakage of plastic into the environment and to look into a future free of plastic pollution. Allow me at this stage to turn to the INC itself and to provide an overview of the status of the process. After a preparatory meeting for the work of the committee held in Dakar, Senegal, in May last year, the first session of the INC was convened in Punta del Este, Uruguay, in November last year. At this first session, the committee elected His Excellency Ambassador Gustavo Meza Quadra from Peru as chair. After a week of deliberations, the committee mandated the Secretariat to prepare, under the guidance of the chair of the INC, a document with potential options for elements towards an international legally binding instrument for consideration at its second meeting. The second session, which just concluded this month actually, in Paris, France, at INC2, the committee decided to mandate the chair, with the Secretariat's support, to prepare a zero-draft text of the international legally binding instrument. The draft is to be guided by views expressed by members at INC1 and INC2, and the full range of views could be indicated in the draft text through options. We are currently drafting this document. So this mandate is an outstanding result that paves the way for the third session of INC in Nairobi in November 2023, where member states will review this text. Also, the committee decided that INC3 will be preceded by a one-day preparatory meeting to discuss a synthesis report which the Secretariat has to prepare on issues that have not been discussed as yet, like scope and principles. The subsequent fourth and fifth sessions of the INC are scheduled to take place in April 2024, as you've heard, in Canada, and in autumn 2024 here in the Republic of Korea. At this junction, allow me once again to extend my greatest appreciation and gratitude to the governments of Canada and Korea for offering to host the fourth and fifth sessions of the INC, and we hope INC 5 will be the last session. Therefore, it is extremely critical. This will be the session where governments are to agree on the final text of the instrument if we are to keep with the mandated timetable for the delivery of an international legally binding instrument. Once the negotiations under the INC have concluded, member states are expected to adopt the instrument at a diplomatic conference in 2025. So, just a little bit about INC2. The unprecedented interest in the negotiations meant that we had a very strong turnout of over 1,700 participants, and it attests to the wish of everyone to move quickly. The committee, as I mentioned, it is the INC importantly requested the chair, with support of the Secretariat, to prepare a zero draft for consideration at INC 3. We are now working with the chair's team to advance this intersessional work and in preparing the third session. The preparations for INC 3, which is to be hosted by the government of Kenya, are now underway to ensure a successful meeting. INC 3 will be held at UNEP headquarters in the UN Gigiri compound in Nairobi, and I look forward to welcoming all of you in Nairobi very soon. So, what are the expectations for INC 3? The third session marks the midpoint of our work. We want to make sure that we capitalize on the progress made in Paris and advance discussions on the basis of the zero draft. For this to happen, strong leadership from governments around the world needs to be maintained, and it will be paramount to ensure a broad basis for consensus. We need member states and stakeholders across regions to step up and lead by conviction and by example, to champion key issues and solutions, dare to be bold in terms of ambition, speak up for those who are underrepresented. We also need this multi-stakeholder effort in the spirit of the Resolution 514. Eliminating plastic pollution is not a job for governments alone. Civil society, academia, youth, indigenous peoples, and informal sector are all part of this solution and part of the process. We must encourage action by all stakeholders, including the private sector. In concluding, I wish to thank eToday Media and the Climate Change Center for hosting the summit. It is events like this that help us to keep the momentum on the road from Paris to Nairobi. I'm immensely grateful for your efforts to bring everyone to the table and enable us to have these important conversations. I wish you a fruitful deliberations today, and thank you, and hope to see you at INC 3 in Nairobi. Thank you.